Monday we covered why you are going to do very well in crypto and what it is that you are doing that is so right that will lead to better than average results. There we go.
We got to get the Groundhog Day groove on. All right, here we go.
Today we're doing a little follow-up on that. It is also Groundhog Day. This is a holiday I believe originated in the US and Canada, maybe just the US. But it is the day when the groundhog would come out, take a look at his shadow, and if it saw its shadow, there was still 6 weeks left of winter. It appears that the specific groundhog saw his shadow, and so there are 6 more weeks of winter, at least in the North American continent, per the tradition. But I'm feeling something different for the crypto market, and I will get into that later. We have some clips from the movie Groundhog Day thrown in today's show for your enjoyment. Remember when I said the crypto journey isn't easy? You're feeling that, aren't you? It isn't easy. Was it hard to even watch crypto videos at all today? Because I bet you it was. And for some, I know it is because I've been there too, and I remember when I was brand new in crypto. Now, I feel like part of my role in creating the most educated audience is also helping set proper expectations to set you up for success. Perhaps we can even do that with a little bit of fun using some clips from the movie Groundhog Day in today's episode. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain, and if you like money in crypto and you're looking for a real investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video. Why not make it rain on the like button right now, as well as subscribe with the all notifications bell enabled. Special note, you know this, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself, sharing with you how I think about the crypto market and specific cryptos I like. Especially, I talk about timing and when I like things and when I don't. For myself, crypto has taken my portfolio from thousands to millions, and I share with you the Rainmaker system I created that leads to amazing results. Note, I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about on this channel because I don't talk about cryptos and projects that I don't believe in. Also, special shout out to our Patreon members. We hold a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. The link is below if that interests you. All right, I'm ready to get this party started. Make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Let's welcome our producer D-Money in the Crypto Rain Command Center.
Hey, Jay, what's going on, man? I'm stoked for this episode today because I am a huge Groundhog Day nerd. I love this movie, so...
It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, we'll show you some clips, but the movie is hilarious. It has some greater philosophical points in it, too, that are fascinating.
Yeah, for those who maybe haven't ever seen this film, it is basically the protagonist, Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray, gets trapped in the same day over and over again. He is a weatherman for the news, and he hates going to this town to cover this stupid holiday, and he ends up living his life in a loop over and over again. And for me, I woke up a couple of days ago and it kind of felt like crypto was feeling like the same day over and over again for the last couple of months. So yeah, man, I'm excited for this episode. Let's get the party started.
Yeah, make it rain on that like button and let's get it. Join me, Rainmakers. So, days like today that I'm really excited. I like prices when they're low. That's what gets me excited because in order to make amazing money, you have to buy low in order to sell really high, right? And to make amazing gains. So I know some people get super excited when the market is way, way up, and that's exciting, especially when you bought low. But part of that excitement comes from buying low. And you're here when the price action in Bitcoin is boring. And what I mean by boring means the price action is low, everybody seems depressed, the retail sentiment is really, really low. On the fear and greed index, it's in fear, and those are very, very good days for those that have learned to think like an investor. Now, do you remember over the past few months how I was saying the crypto winter will be very boring? We're getting a strong taste of that again, aren't we? Just like we did in July. And we're not even in the real crypto winter yet. My thoughts are this is a snowstorm before a larger parabolic move, and I'm seeing lots of good signs on that. Now, it's great that entered channels are calling a full-on crypto winter, let them. This is what some of them are saying. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to play a little clip here.
I'll give you a winter prediction. It's going to be cold, it's going to be gray, and it's going to last you for the rest of your life.
Right? Now, isn't that what you're hearing on some of the channels? That's actually a bullish indicator for me. I do watch other channels, and I also scan through and see what some of the headlines are frequently, because it gives me an idea of what the general crypto market is thinking. And you know, they're so often wrong. Now, who's seen some FUD like that? It does sometimes feel like that is the forecast being said right now, right? It feels cloudy, dreary, and like you are drudging through the same stuff over and over again, which is exactly what you were feeling, D.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, and I just, that's when he has eventually gotten to the point where he's just like, this has happened so many times, and it's just going to happen over and over again. It's going to last you the rest of your life.
Now, most of this work in crypto, you came into here because you were looking for outsized gains. And what's funny is you haven't been in crypto all that long, but it's emotionally taxing, and there is a high price to pay. So for those that thought they were going to come in and make life-changing wealth and it was going to be easy, well, they're getting the cold shoulder of a cold market and finding out that it isn't the cakewalk that they thought it was. Is it all making sense why so many don't make money in crypto? They leave at the worst time, especially after having come in at the tops. But if you are here today, you are thinking right. You not only have not dumped and then left the space, you're going that added step of staying up to date and informed during this time period when prices are lows. Now, I have a feeling that February 2nd is a day we will look back at, and we and others will say, I wish I had bought way more crypto on this day. Over the years as an investor, I found that patterns play out over and over again. And D, any chance you could change my audio over?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
So I found out that patterns play out over and over again, and that human emotions lead us to just the right traps that keep us stuck in the same things. But being an investor and developing an investor mindset is different, isn't it? Now, why is it so hard? Well, most education systems around the world groom us to be employees and to think like sheep. When you were a kid, what did most authority figures in all the different countries tell you was the way for financial success? Was it go to school, get good grades, get a good job, put your money into a savings account? For those in the U.S., put your money into 401k. Canada also has some other investments like that. But basically, that's what you were told, right? Put your money into the bank or into a general stock market fund, and then just work away like a worker bee or a sheep for most of your life, and then maybe retire at 65 to 85, right? And then have a mediocre retirement. Well, okay, it is true that if we do that really well, like a really good sheep, we will all end up, or will often end up, with enough funds at the end of our lives to not get slaughtered by retirement. But what about all those dreams we have? Does that system or formula lead us to those dreams we have? No, not really, right? For the gains required to achieve those amazing dreams we have to start taking risks. And when we enter that realm, we start entering the realm of investment. And as such, our emotions lead us right into the slaughterhouse. Let me share with you another clip. When Bill Murray's just had enough of the system.
It's the same thing your whole life. Clean up your room, stand up straight, pick up your feet, take it like a man. Be nice to your sister. Don't mix beer and wine, ever. Oh yeah, don't drive on the railroad track.
Well, Phil, that's one I happen to agree with.
I don't know, Gus. Sometimes I think you just have to take the big chances.
Hey, we're talking in here!
Phil?
Yeah. I'm betting he's gonna swear first.
Yeah, that's still gonna happen.
I'm not gonna live by their rules anymore.
Well, if you're here in crypto, haven't you really made that statement that you're not going to live by those normal rules anymore because you realize it doesn't lead you to where you want to go? But part of that journey is learning to think like an investor. So how does a investor think? What's great about YouTube and the internet these days is this message can be broadcast wherever you are. And I know in our audience we have doctors, we have some attorneys, we have some top level executives at some places, and what's great too is we have the full other end of the spectrum, that you might be in whatever country and you're listening to this, and maybe you grew up poor like I did and you wanted better results in your life, and you started this journey thinking like an investor. Now some of you already think like an investor, and that's why this message resonates with you, and some want to think like an investor, but you've never had somebody sharing with you how to think like an investor. Well, as an investor, we're looking for good risks versus bad risks. Now, have you noticed that as we're evaluating good risks versus bad risks, there's a certain aspect of the cryptocurrency market that I don't spend much time on and I don't treat very well, and that has to do with meme coins, right? And the reason I do is because it's a lopsided risk in that so few do well. It's like gambling where the losses more often than not exceed the gains. And so we pulled up this next video out of the movie. This is Rain with meme coins.
Hey, Phil.
There's the meme coin.
Phil. Hey, Phil Connors.
Ned?
Sorry, I know some people like the meme coins. I'm just here as an investor and I like risks. I like the better, more strategic risks where the chances of winning are better than losing, especially where the team is solid and the narrative is strong and the timing is good. So how do you know how to analyze these things? Well, part of it is being around long enough time investing and noticing some patterns. Now, hopefully you are well on your journey to an investor mindset, and my hope is that when you have been doing this for 24 years, you are far ahead of where I am now. But sometimes when analyzing projects, you can see the flaws, the setbacks, the concerns, or sometimes you notice things right away, and also the lack of those things, so that when you recognize a good pattern. Now, I know some of you started your crypto journey last year. Some of you started before, a few of you started before that. Some of you started, when I say last year, I mean the year before that. And some of you started in the spring of last year, and some of you started more recently. Give yourself some time to really grow in this, and you get a really good sense of recognizing patterns. It's almost like you can see the future. Now, we're going to stretch it a little bit with this next clip. He does, refer to himself as, a deity. He does specify in the clip that we're not going, a part of the clip that, like, he says, no, I'm not the God. It's like I am a God. And I tread lightly around that word because I do respect the man upstairs, whatever religion you're from, whether you call him Allah or you call him something else. I'm grateful to him, all that he's done for me. And, many of us around the world recognize him. So I tread lightly with that. Let's just say, instead of that word, let's just use an experienced investor for this clip.
Are you telling me this?
Because I want you to believe in me.
You're not a god. You can take my word for it. This is 12 years of Catholic school talking.
I could come back if you're not ready.
How do you know I'm not a god?
Ha! Oh, please.
How do you know?
Because it's not possible.
I'll come back.
Doris. This is Doris. Her brother-in-law, Carl, owns this diner. She's worked here since she was 17. More than anything else in her life, she wants to see Paris before she dies.
Oh, boy, what I...
What are you doing?
This is Debbie Kleiser and her fiancé, Fred.
Do I know you?
They're supposed to be getting married this afternoon, but Debbie is having second thoughts.
What?
Lovely ring.
This is Bill. He's been a waiter for 3 years since he left Penn State and had to get work.
He likes the town, he paints toy soldiers, and he's gay.
I am.
This is Gus. He hates his life here. He wishes he stayed in the Navy.
Well, I could have retired on half pay after 20 years.
Excuse me, is this some kind of trick?
Well, maybe the real God uses tricks. You know, maybe he's not omnipotent. He's just been around for long. He knows everything.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that the point, right? When you've been around a while, now I've been in crypto, it's getting closer to 5 years, and my guess is that many of you tuning in now, you're just early in this, but after you've been around, especially following the system for a while, you'll learn how to recognize patterns, how to see the good things, and also weed out a lot of the crap that is out there. And some of that just comes from seeing these patterns over and over again. When you have 24 years in investing in general, or even maybe just possibly with just 4 years of crypto experience, these larger patterns will likely be so easy for you to see, like the clip in the movie we just shared. Now, we wanted to bring some fun into today's episode. I'm going to take a look over at the chat. If you haven't already, would you make it rain on that like button? I'm seeing, I'm seeing that our chat or our likes could go up. Gentlemen in the chat and ladies, let's see what you're thinking. Great show as always, learning every day, says Dougie Collins. I love that a lot of people in the chat are getting to know each other as well. Jester's Rune says Groundhog's Day gets funnier every time I see it. All right. Well, how are you in the live chat feeling and what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm wondering if other people are feeling like the same thing that I. Really, what made me think of this analogy, right? Of the Groundhog Day of crypto, because right now I'm waking up in the morning and and I check the market. I look at my phone. It's like maybe this isn't healthy, but it's the first thing that I do in the morning. My wife's always like, "You touch your phone before you touch me," even I'm like, "Yeah, that's true, babe." But yeah, it's like. It just feels like I check my phone and I'm like, yep, all right, here we go again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm a little bit numb to some of these things because I've been in it for a while, and then prior to crypto, I was in other investing, so these patterns are normal to me. But, Dee, you've been in here. Actually, you started VV collecting before you started even regular crypto and altcoin collecting.
Yeah.
And so you've seen your VV portfolio take off, but that is one of the things that is way up right now. Almost nothing else is.
Right. Yeah, and that obviously that's enough to make me still feel excited about things, but unfortunately, that's not front and center, right? It's not what you
because you can't. It doesn't show up on your blockfolio.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the things, the major apps, like it's difficult to check the VV market, right? It's like you got to look at every single. They've made it easier where you can look at your collectible and see the floor price, and that helps. But it's not the same thing where it's like, oh, here's the chart of the Todd McFarlane Batman, or like here's the chart of your VV portfolio, and you can just kind of see the gains really easily.
Yeah, Repungus says in the chat that he wants to buy more, but he is uncertain at this point. So we just recorded the episode that will air tomorrow with Paul, and we looked at some of the viewer comments, but a lot of it we were talking about the deeper fundamental things. We did look at some specific projects, but I have a feeling that February 2nd is a date that we will look at in the past and say, I wish I could have bought more. And we had that bottom in July, and I feel like there's some signs that things are about to reverse and go the other way. Now, is today the absolute bottom? That's my guess, actually. I might be wrong on that. It's hard to tell. I'm just seeing and recognizing the right things coming together, that it feels like we're right near that bottom for me. Now, that's a feeling. I was trying to identify specific things that are leading to that, and there are a few things in the charts that suggest it, but the overall market, there's a lot of things coming together, and I shared some of them Monday that are looking really good, that we're probably going to flip around, and it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Now, a lot of people try to time the market. And so what they'll do is they'll sell, and then they try to get back in before it then pumps. I used to try to do this when I was new. I don't anymore, because oftentimes the price violently turns around, and before you know it, you're buying back in at a price above what you sold at. So now I just ride some of these swings down if I haven't taken profits out, and then it goes low, and it's something that I believe is going to do well for the long term, and it goes down, then I dollar cost average in, and that's the system that I follow that's worked really well for me. And I'm really, really liking where prices are today. They're amazing. And will they stay so cheap? I don't think so. Now, let's check out.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, I'm looking at this right now. Who was it? Someone in the chat said check out EcomiWiki.com. Rhododendro. I need to figure out how to say his name because he's here all the time. We appreciate you being here. Have you been on that site before, Jay?
Yeah, I plugged in my portfolio there, so I'm able to check it. It was a pain going through my portfolio to put it all in there, but once you do, you're actually able to look at the price.
Real
and
cool.
actually,
Thanks for telling me, buddy. Yeah,
my portfolio is up like it's up like 50x, right? So what's funny is I probably put about 0.5% of my funds into VV collectibles, and it now makes up like 16% of my portfolio. So
wow,
because it's pumped so much, right? Yeah. And I mean, literally, probably you put in a higher percentage of your overall capital, but it probably makes up a huge portion of your gains if you put it in there and looked at the prices and where they've gone, D.
Yeah, no, my portfolio has gone, like, the entire thing is 100x'd, which is crazy to think about. And so for the entire portfolio, I mean, it's at least 90%, probably 90, yeah, about 90% at this point.
Rhododendro says, I have different names on different social media. Doing my best to stay patient, bullish, long term. Rakesh Patel, I think you're going to be very pleased with having made that decision and that sentiment. It just takes some time to let this all play out, and that time is what wears a lot of people down, kind of like Chinese water torture, where they would drip things on your head, and over time that drip, which didn't bother you at first, becomes so frustratingly annoying. It drives people absolutely insane, and it does feel like an emotional grind, an emotional where every day you're checking your blockfolio. The first thing you do, that everyone does that. The first thing they do, and then they're like, oh, yeah, okay, we're way up. I did that for my first 3 years in crypto. I often forget to check now for like an hour or two into it, unless the action's really, really hot, because that's when I FOMO out of things, or that's when I panic sell. Is when things are going absolutely crazy the other way, right? Sometimes I'm checking blockfolio when I'm specifically waiting for some great entry points. So it's a good time to be checking it regularly because so much is hitting really good entry points in my own opinion. Now, did you, in the audience, did you guys catch Monday's video on why you're going to be rich in crypto? I wanted your thoughts on what you thought about that. If you haven't, after this video, go check it out. It tells you what's going right for you and what other people are missing. So I'm curious as to what your thoughts were on that.
Jay Bernard brings up that crypto is going to be legalized in India. Are we covering that?
We are covering that today. That is some very bullish news.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much bullish news happening beneath the surface. And we were Dee and I were talking about this beforehand, where like a tsunami is an earthquake that happens underneath the ocean. But like the wave starts to form at a distance, and that wave, like 10, 20, 100 miles out, gets to be gigantic. And so what's funny is a lot of the main things that drive the price rising are happening. Like so much is happening. You're seeing tons of the top level tech people are moving over into crypto. A lot of the experienced devs are moving over into crypto. All the right things are happening for this gigantic boom. And I frequently refer to the stock to flow ratio. I think this is accurate, and we're way down below its true value. And what's funny is when it blasts off, it usually overhits the mark, and it goes to a crazy number before correcting down. And so I love where we are in these charts. Everyone says they wish they could go back to a certain date and buy low, but really, everyone who's around usually passes up on the days where the best buying is happening because they're emotionally beat down by the price just going down. They're scared, and they wait to buy until prices get to new highs again, and then they catch that. No, for some technical traders, like we were talking with Paul, and that's specifically what he does, and not just in the crypto market, but any market. That is there's a lot of people who are good at that. I did try my hand at that over the crypto winter, and I got into charting and technical analysis, which is where I learned some of my stuff, because when I started in crypto, I didn't have any technical analysis background at all. And then I even started playing with leverage, and what I hated about that approach was that I was stressed out to be away from the computer for more than an hour or two. So a lot of the system that I developed revolves around not caring on the day-to-day where prices are at, other than when prices get crazy. I am looking at highs and take profit levels, but generally buying low and generally selling high, and allows you to go on your normal life and not have to stress out so much. Because I found when I was looking at the charts and trying to trade, even when I was trading without leverage, you can set up your buys and your sells automatically to handle it, but it was really impacting my day-to-day life, and especially when I had another job before I was able to retire, that made it really hard, because then I was trying to balance so much. So generally the system I follow allowed me, while I had another job, to plug crypto into my life without having to stress out so much. Now let's get into some of the news that I wanted to share today that's so bullish. Before we do, let's take a brief look at where the Bitcoin price is, because it is relevant. It did break out of this trend, and it's come back in, and whether it breaks back into this trend or bounces off it, we don't know how this is going to play out. We might be out of it, and it might bounce up from here. If not, it'll break back in, and it might come down to these levels and then bounce off. And this is the drawing the other day that we did, that if it didn't break through here and it bounced off, that what likely I was guessing would happen if it stayed within this trend. And it did break through it, and now we're testing it right here as support. And so if the support holds, it'll at least trade sideways from here and then maybe go up. Or if it breaks through, it'll come back in here, usually violently, and retest the bottom here down to the 31,000, scare a whole bunch of people out of their positions. Instead of buying when it gets that low, it's amazing how many people get scared out of their positions. All right, on to some news. A crypto breakthrough. Now, this isn't as big as the India stuff, but this is big. Politico is reporting a crypto breakthrough. Western states consider taking digital currency. What's interesting, and I'm not an expert on U.S. state law, so I'm not going to try to be, but from what my understanding is that states agreed under the federalist system of the United States not to make their own currency. Well, they didn't make Bitcoin. So it's actually uncertain whether they can adopt a currency that someone else made. I don't know that that's settled law. And several states, Wyoming and Arizona, have put forward proposals to accept tax payments in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And would that undermine the dollar's unique status? Now, you can expect, the President of the United States to not be very excited about this at all. And that would go for pretty much any president, not just Joe Biden, because it does decrease the power levers that the presidency position holds. And politicians in offices, even if it's good for the people, they don't tend to voluntarily let power go. So we will see how this fight plays out, because we'll talk about some other things that's happening in the U.S. in just a minute. But before we do, I want to get to India. Do you realize how big India is and how much of India is tech savvy and growing, and that's growing by the day? Now, some of it is in complete poverty, but there are a lot of very intelligent, sharp people in India, and they're grabbing onto cryptocurrency, though some of the regulators in India have been trying to hold back cryptocurrency. And it seems like the cryptocurrency bulls have had a huge victory, because it seems like through this proposal that they're just agreeing that they're going to tax it, which gives it some regulatory boundaries as well as acceptance in India. Because if you remember, the Royal Bank of India it seemed like, kept trying to push forward bans on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But with this 30% tax on crypto and NFT income, It sounds like they've just agreed to just tax it. Now, 30%, that might seem high. That's actually fine, in my personal opinion, right? Because like in some countries, they have short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains. And if you average all that out, depending on how much you trade, it'd probably be around 30%. You know, that's not a bad... I don't think that's a bad deal. I don't think that's a bad deal for people in India and in cryptocurrency in general. Now, you can move to places like Portugal that are not taxing cryptocurrency gains at all, right? So, I mean, best deal there. But for India, you know, there are some advantages to living around the people that you love in life and not moving to other countries.
Well, and it certainly is 30% or not as far as the tax goes. It's certainly better than what was it, like 6 weeks ago that there was all this FUD going on about, you know, about India's going to ban crypto, and now here we are 6 weeks later. It's like, oh, actually, it's going to be legalized pretty much.
Yeah, that's great news. And so India, going forward on the article, India on Tuesday announced plans to launch a digital currency by next year and tax cryptocurrencies and NFTs as the country moves closer to recognizing cryptocurrencies as legal tender in the world's second largest internet market. Really big deal. Good job, India. Really happy with you making that decision. I know it's been a lot of battling for the cryptocurrency bulls there that are trying to make cryptocurrency happen. And to get the country to really participate in this boom. And so that's a big win for all of you that made that happen in India. So congratulations to you. We'll talk about how the U.S. is doing in that right now. It's a little bit uncertain. Solana surges. Remember we talked about the other day that Coinbase was going to list 3 Solana tokens. Well, they did list 2, and not even 2 that were on the list of what they were going to list. So they did. Coinbase now supports Solana SPL tokens, and it's been an eventful Monday. So they now listed Bonafide and Orca on Coinbase, and my guess is they will also list those others. Sometimes when they leak this news, they also leak some misleading news so that they can, you know, make these announcements. So it's interesting they didn't list the other 3 we're looking at and surprised everyone by these. Okay, great. But it's fantastic that they now are launching Solana-based tokens, because then they'll launch a bunch more. I think Solana has got a very bullish future. Now back on to politicians. And Janet Yellen, I think, is going to go down as one of the villains in history. And she is doing everything she can to take out cryptocurrency. And so there's a bill, and I don't know who put it forward. The Democrats mostly control the Congress, the House of Representatives, and there's a 50-50 split, I think, in the Senate, but with the tie vote being the vice president, Democrats control the Senate in the U.S., and there's a bill put forward, and I don't know if this is on the House floor or the Senate floor, called America Competes Act. Now, I think it's hilarious what politicians name their different bills. It's usually the opposite of what they're saying it does. Like they just did this bipartisan infrastructure bill. As I was reading through the details of it, do you know only 12% of that bill went to infrastructure? 12%. That's like saying you're going to have steak for dinner tonight, and it comes out and this is steak and the rest is potatoes and beans and everything, right? You would feel a little bit like, hey, they cheated me, right? So should that have been called the infrastructure bill? Wouldn't it be more appropriately called like the pork bill? So when they name these things, they strategically name them so that they can fool people, right? So it sounds like, oh yeah, we want America to be able to compete. But if in that America Competes bill, they're actually setting up a path to destroy cryptocurrency in the U.S., is that going to make America more competitive? Not at all, right? So specifically, let's see what was said. Cynthia Loomis, she holds Bitcoin and been a big advocate of Bitcoin, says that the recently introduced America Competes Act of 2022 is a direct attack on the crypto industry. I will not stand by and let the heavy hand of government pick winners and losers, she stressed. Congressman Tom Emmer explained that the legislation, here's the key, would give Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen dictatorial level power to prohibit any transactions they deem concerning without due process. So essentially, it allows them, the Treasury Secretary and those she deputizes, unilateral, unlimited power to ban any type of financial asset that has a foreign link without public notice and without any time limit. Now, there's currently stuff in place, I guess, in the U.S. where they can put a proposal to ban certain types of transactions, but then they have to give a time limit for people to respond. So in this bill, they're actually taking that out. So essentially, the Treasury Secretary, who is currently Janet Yellen, which she's shown a strong, averse reaction to cryptocurrency to increase her powers. And so essentially, she would secretly be able to end it, ban it, and there wouldn't be any public discourse related to it. So if you're in the U.S., what's great is politicians will often respond to their donors over their voters unless enough of their voters start contacting them and they realize, man, if I do what my donors want, then my voters won't vote for me. Shoot, I better do what my voters want. So you can reach out to your senators and congressmen, let them know your feelings on this. What I love about cryptocurrency is it goes across the political spectrum. Most any type of person, depending on what their political beliefs are, can recognize that, hey, cryptocurrency is good for me, and that the government printing endless amounts of fiat to solve their own problems is bad for me. And so, cryptocurrency is great for the people, not great for the government, but I still want it to happen. So, if you're in the U.S., you can help push this to defeat, especially with the House and Senate already being split along party lines. No matter what state or you're in, you can reach out to your senator and congressman and put pressure on them. It does matter. Back to funner news. That's enough with that. India is really, really good news. U.S., I wouldn't say that that's bad news. The good news is it's out in the open, and Cynthia Loomis has brought it out. The bad news when it happens behind closed doors and you don't even have a chance to have a say in it. Now you have a chance at least to reach out, make your voices heard, so that at least there's some notice so you can. And my guess is Charles Hoskinson and other major corporations from the U.S. realize what this is, and a lot of these politicians don't realize how strong the cryptocurrency community is, but they're about to realize that. They did get a little bit of heads up on that in November and December when all of a sudden cryptocurrency execs and others started lobbying efforts to really increase the power of their voice in Washington. So I think it's going to go well for crypto. I don't think that's going to succeed, but especially if you're in the U.S., you can reach out to them. That'll really help. All right, so we've talked with Paul several times, and you've heard me on the show talk about metaverse real estate. And look at metaverse real estate sales top 500 million and are projected to double this year. Now, what's interesting is so far the real estate sales have been concentrated on the big four: Sandbox, Decentraland, CryptoVoxels, and Somnium. I haven't followed CryptoVoxels and Somnium all that closely, because their prices have gone up a bunch. Sandbox and Decentraland I participated in varying ways. I do have some Sandbox land. But there will be other projects out here where what I'm really bullish on is the video game prospects, especially video games that look like they're going to be successful. And I'm looking for strategic land buys on video games where there's land that can do well, like Ember Sword is a risky play I'm taking. You can buy on Token Trove. You can buy their land. Now it's on the Polygon network, and you have to essentially get funds over onto the Polygon/Matic network, and then you've got to use QuickSwap to swap it into ETH. You can bridge ETH over from the ETH blockchain over to Polygon, or however you get your funds there. You can then swap them for ETH, and you can buy some land there. They've been trading. They were as high as $900. They've been trading down to $500. But the land gives you some passive income over time. Now that passive income probably is going to be somewhat minuscule, but the fact that there is some, I like that narrative. Part of the reason that these decentralized land is so big is the ability or the hope that there's some strong passive income there. Some of the reasons that people have speculated on Decentraland land and Sandbox is they essentially just want to build like billboards on their land with advertisements so they can sell advertising space so they can get some passive income, right? Or they just hope that enough people will come in, that land will have intrinsic value that other people will want to pay more for it. I remember when Sandbox has been pretty busy except for the very, very early days of their land sales. And I remember when you could buy the land for about $100, and now the entry level price is about $13,000. So you've seen, what is that? That's 130x over really just the last year and a half. Now, will it keep going up? Probably will go up from here. I don't know if I'd use the word keep going up because I don't know exactly what it will do in the bigger bear market. What is interesting is we have only seen one virtual land that came out during the previous bull market, and that was Decentraland's land, and you could buy it for, I think, $20 to $90. I think it was $20 at the initial launch, and then $90 later as they did another release. But $20, and now that's going for $13,000. It did continue going up during the bear market, but it was the only one that had some land out there that had already been out there. So this time, maybe land will keep going up during the bear market. My guess is some of the land will go up and some will go down depending on how the project's performing, what kind of network effects that they're getting and stuff. So I'm very careful on the land that I'm buying. But I'm continuing to look for good land opportunities on some of the games coming out, what really looks good. I did invest really heavily into Networks land, and it is now tradable on OpenSea. You can buy it. It's retraced a little bit, came out, and the entry level price was about 1 ETH. I think last I checked it was trading for less than 0.8 ETH, and I suspect it might come down to like half a ETH, and then my guess is it goes up from there, but that's just a guess. I don't know. There isn't a lot of patterns to look at and see exactly how it'll play out. So as for other tradable land out there, there's a lot of stuff coming out. One of the people that suggested for the videos we review, and Paul, asked us to look at one on Cardano. I didn't have enough prep time to really dig into that one deep. Dee, do you remember what that was called?
I don't, but I'll let you know here in a little bit. Maybe someone in the chat knows what it is.
He'll pull it up. Not a bad idea. Like Cornucopias has some land coming out on the Cardano blockchain. I like the idea of early projects on the Cardano blockchain and land, so I liked his suggestion. I just wish I knew more about this project.
Yeah, Pavia is the name.
Pavia.
It's a Cardano.
I'm going to look deeper into that because it looks interesting enough. And some of these land ones, it's hard to keep an eye on everything, and so sometimes things come out of outside your vision that do really well. So what is one of the great things, we have a community, we have a Telegram chat, we have Discord, so that others can bring things to your attention that you might miss. Like Pavia looks like it might be a gem, though I need to do some deeper digging to know for sure. But I saw enough from when I was skimming through it that I was like, this does look interesting. Now, I wanted to share this article. As much as there's money in crypto, well, the money attracts bad guys, and the bad guys want your money. And there's a new malware that targets MetaMask and 40 other crypto wallets. Now, mostly you get this from downloading things to your computer. So if you're on, what are some of the sites, the torrent sites, where you can get stuff for,
like that.
Yeah, you can get stuff for free, and you have to, be installing things. Be very, very cautious on any computer you're installing things from, because if they get into your, even on one computer, maybe they can then access your network and get to the other computers. You don't want it. It targets not only MetaMask but 40 other crypto wallets.
Yeah, and from what I understand, that they get the malware on, and then they get whatever they need, and then they get it off kind of quickly. So sometimes even like if your antivirus stuff isn't up to date, it'll get what it needs before it even gets noticed. So yeah, I mean it makes sense, and obviously maybe not everybody has the means to do this, but if you're holding crypto on your computer, just limit what you're doing on that device, right? You know what I mean? Just kind of try and stick to only transactions, and don't be downloading movies and that sort of a thing on that device.
In the chat, Ricky says, Affliction t-shirt, ground and pound that like button.
Yeah, I love that. Ground and pound the like. I still like gently caress the like button. We're making it rain on the like button.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Make it rain on the like button. But, yeah, I love the community, right? And like Chris Ashby says, what's up, web zombies? I love that everyone's starting to get to know each other a lot better. What's up, Rain, says Troy. Rhododendro says, same as with Russia. You know, I like the idea that they're just going to tax it in India. That really is bullish news. I remember, like, every so often we would get this FUD that India was going to ban Bitcoin. And, like, it came out as, like, this is going to happen this time. And then it never did. But it would, like, scare the whole market because India's huge. And there's a lot of wealth, and I think a lot more wealth to come out of India, especially if they embrace cryptocurrency. Like, the Silicon Valley became the hotbed of, like, the internet growth because the U.S. did pass a lot of regulations that really made it easy for them to grow and were really light regulations, not heavy regulations, that really were business friendly. And I think the nations out there that passed really business friendly, favorable legislation, they're going to become the new Silicon Valleys. And so if the U.S. is behind in making dumb moves, well, to their own detriment and to the benefit of everyone else. So hopefully these politicians in the U.S. aren't dumb. Yeah, we'll see how they are. Canada is making some pretty good decisions. I wish they would make more better ones. Bearish Bull says, what's up, fam? And I'm dying laughing, Ricky. What up, J and D? Sorry for late, but we'll rewind when we finish up here.
We'll forgive you, Bearish Bull. We appreciate the support, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to take a couple questions, Jay? There's
yeah, let's do it.
So Nemanja Kirkes asks, what's your taking profit zone for OMI?
Let's look at OMI. It's so on my mind, and if my bags weren't gigantic on OMI already, I stocked up in a lot of OMI, and so it's like I'm tempted to buy more. The problem is everything else is at lows, and I don't want to sell things that are extreme lows to diversify into a position that I'm already really heavy on, and I'm really heavy on OMI. And so this is looking so good in my book. So where is my take profit zone? Probably not going to take any profits out till 6 or 7 cents. Let me share with you what I see happening with OMI. And if you can, later tonight, I am going to be on the Spanish channel. There's a Spanish Twitter channel that Dr. Stuff has connected me up on, and that's going to be later this evening. I think that's 5:30 Pacific time. And then we're going to have at 8:30 Pacific time another live stream specific to OMI and Vivi. So for those that can't join it though, let me give you a preview of why I'm so bullish about OMI, and we'll talk about a lot more deep things on that. So this really is just a small piece of what we'll be talking about. So I like fundamentals, right? And a solid team and right things going on. And so with Ecomi has done so many of the right things. They're getting the very best intellectual property in the whole world, right? So they've gotten Disney, Marvel, like that is gigantic to get an endorsement that big. Those are the hardest brands to get out there. They've gotten other really, really big brands, and they're being so well accepted. So there were some things that they had to do, some hurdles, because they went a certain direction that then they had to change directions. They were smart, and they went on GoChain 4 years ago when they were launching, and that was a smart move to make at the time because people had already experienced ETH transaction fees going pretty high. And so they went on GoChain, which was an up-and-coming chain that was like a side chain kind of to ETH, but way cheaper in transaction fees. So that was a logical decision for them to make at the time, but GoChain just didn't hit like they were hoping it was. And so then other side chains on Ethereum have done much better, namely Immutable X. So they have to migrate not only their NFTs, but their tokens over to Immutable X. And they recognized that probably a year ago, but then that is not an easy thing to do. They identified Immutable X, and they've been moving it over, and so all of that is about to come to fruition. Now, if you think about it, this is one of the most bullish tokens out there. Why do I say most bullish? They're a crypto company that already is revenue positive. Do you know how rare that is? Like, maybe 1% of the crypto companies out there are actually using their use case and actually revenue positive. In fact, I don't even know if the number is 1%. So they're massively revenue positive. That in itself is rare. Number two, their price has been correcting for almost a year now. Wow. Okay, so that is building some massive momentum. And it went all the way up to 1.4 cents and now is trading at under 0.7 cents. So still half price of what its previous high was. They also can, since that 1.4 cents, like that was just in the March uptick. Like what was crazy is how much momentum this got during that March uptick when a lot of things went up 10x or 20x or 30x. Ecomi went up from its crypto winter lows. It went up like 250x from the very bottom. So it hit a massive momentum wave. Why? Because the token was just so likable and people could grasp on that they got Batman's license and other things. They could see these top level NFTs, so their token just went wild. People that didn't know anything else about crypto bought into Omi, even though it was so hard to get. So imagine this time around when it's then tradable on, say, all the major exchanges, including hopefully they get Coinbase. And my guess is they will. Do you know Coinbase is a big backer of Immutable X? So just a note there, if they get Coinbase, and then if they get something like Robinhood or something else. So my price prediction, upward price prediction, this goes 30 cents to 30 cents if it doesn't hit like meme coin status. In other words, like one of the powerful things that a couple meme coins hit is people didn't know anything else about cryptocurrency and they were buying these tokens because their friends were all talking about them. And we saw Omi hit that kind of status in March. And if it hits that kind of status again this time, and I suspect it will, it could go as high as $1 or more. So where do I start taking profits? It's 6 cents. I might take a little tiny bit of profits, but that would be very hard. But just because my principles, I'll probably just sell like 0.5% of my Omi position at 6 cents. So that is truly the start of where I take profits. But upward from there, I'm going to have a lot of it staked on their system because they're going to incentivize that towards the Master Collector program. And you better believe I want the Master Collector program benefits. And so there's so much right fundamentally. Think about the token burn. I was reading an article about how much Omi token is being burned right now. It's millions per month right now. Like, it's gigantic. And so the token burn is really big. Now, as the price goes up on Omi, they'll be burning less in order to hit the dollar amounts that they're looking at. But, like, say the price 100x's from here. Well, then to burn contractually as much as they need to do, that they'd be burning 1/100th of it. But my guess is transaction volume will go up. But right now they're burning a lot of Omi. I don't know that they'll continue burning this much even as the volume goes up because I think the price is going to skyrocket from here. That's my guess, and that's what I love. Now, we called it absolutely right on the Todd McFarlane Batmans and other VV collectibles, and it was like, man, I just don't see why this Batman isn't going to do really well. I know it's sitting at $80 right now. I can't believe it's not sold out. It's dumb that people are missing on it, but people miss good opportunities all the time. I'm making that same statement about the Omi token right now. Yeah, it's been building all this momentum. The burns that are going to happen, as well as the use cases, finally going to come to fruition, that you need to stake it in order to hit certain levels in the Master Collector program. So there's going to be this big incentive to stake it rather than holding it in your own wallet or wherever. You just stake it for the long term. In fact, a lot of people that don't have any are then going to be buying it to help increase their ability to get certain Master Level Collector statuses. All right. Let's see. What other questions did we have, Dee?
Yeah, there's not a ton of action going on in the chat right now. I think that, I don't know, I mean, as I said, it just kind of is feeling a little bit like drudgery, right? And when the market isn't doing much, it's hard for me to be like, well, what do you think about this project? Well, it's like, well, it's not doing much, you know, like we just recorded with Paul today, and that episode will release tomorrow, but like almost everything that we looked at, it was like, yeah, it's down, you know, like what else is there to say? Like hopefully it can break these patterns that we're seeing, and you know, break through some of these resistance lines, but you know, Paul is basically just like, you know, we have to wait for it to do that.
Yep, he's positioned himself really well with his pattern. He'll be buying a lot later than I am. But like, I like these type of zones. So I'm sharing my screen right now with you, and I'm just going to share with you what July looked like, because it feels a lot like July. And let's just not cheat and see what happens after July. And look at how this was going, and it's just like boring. Oh my gosh, this is terrible, and it just keeps going down. And people were saying it's going to break through this level, and it's going to head to 21,000, and then it's going to break through that, and it's going to go clear down to 19,000. And guess what happened? Oh, it bounced off and went up, and it was still like, okay, it's just setting up for another downturn is what you're hearing. And then it went climbing. And now we've been going through that same thing. And unfortunately, we're right here. We can't see what happens right after this. But I can tell you it's got that exact same feeling as I was feeling in July.
Yeah, and what were other channels talking about then? Where, was it bearish? Was it where
oh, it was bearish. It was like 90% bearish, and how we might go to 18,000. We might go to the same headlines. If you look back at July around this time, so you're looking for July 9th through July 16th, 17th, all the way to the 20th. Well, through the 19th, you're going to see the same headlines, right, as you're seeing now, essentially, right? And, there's some incentive to be bearish when it's going bearish, because you get more views. And when it's bullish and when things are hitting all-time highs, you'll see a lot of channels cover them because tons of people are searching for them. And you will grow your subscriber base by a lot until a bunch of your people lose money because they all bought at highs. Because, as you cover things like, oh, it's at all-time highs, guess what? If you don't share with them that it's like it's all-time highs and give them some caution, a lot of people think, oh, okay, and they FOMO into it. Now, possibly they're going to FOMO into it anyway, but I don't usually run those type of headlines. And if we're talking about something that's really hot, I like to share with them how nervous I get as it gets really hot, because, yeah, chasing green candles, I mean, look at this. How does chasing green candles end, right? Now, if you're here, you got savage down to here, and if you didn't panic sell out, you made some money. But look, like all the time, like if you chased into this green candle, you still did pretty well before you didn't. And then if you did sell higher, great. But a lot of times people end up buying here and they finally end up selling out right here, or even right here just before it then takes off. Because right at this point, they're like, oh my gosh, it is going to zero. And they panic sell out. That's why when I started this channel, it's all about prepping you guys for the pitfalls that people fall into, and it knocks them out of the market. So I hope you like the information you're getting here. Are you ready to be a rainmaker and to join the Navy SEALs of crypto to level up your crypto game if you haven't already? This channel isn't for everyone. Our goal isn't to be the biggest YouTube channel, but is to help create the most informed audience in crypto, which we believe will lead to the wealthiest audience in crypto. Part of that journey is being realized because our OMI has gone up so much, not our OMI token, but our VV collectibles. But that's just a small part of it. As you heard, only a small part of my portfolio was in that, even though now it makes up a much bigger part. We're still waiting for the altcoins to pop, and that is still going to happen, in my opinion, and it's going to happen really strongly. And if you've been following us, I feel like my positions that I've been taking and talking about during this time are positioned really well as that goes crazy. So these altcoins will have their day in their sun, and it is going to be very hot. Thank you for joining us on a regular basis for the system to work for you. You have to understand it, and that does come through joining us regularly. So thank you to everyone. We do have a special live stream tonight on VV and OMI. I hope you're able to check it out. Dr. Stuff has some of the best alpha in the world on the VV and OMI community. He is one of the most up-to-date people in what's going on. He's very strategic in his thinking. And so he's the guy I turn to most on what to do. And we're going to have him on the channel tonight. He is also our business manager. But he's going to be talking with me and Dee about what's going on. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.